everybody, and just before this video begins, I just have a very quick announcement. I'm not going to take up much time for it, so don't worry about it, but basically, I've got some brand new shirts up on RadioArcade.com. Look in the description or click the annotation on the screen because it will take you straight to it. And this is the development kit. It's a re-release of the Hideo freaking Kojima shirt to make him look like Big Boss. It's really fucking cool. And also, the legendary Limitless Luscious Lorne Lanning has his own t-shirt as well, so do you know what? You can also get this in a bundle. You can get both of these shirts for a reduced price. We ship internationally, and you better act fast because it's a 1 month only limited exclusive, and it's all in the description and on the annotation on the screen, so please go and have a look and enjoy the video. Thanks very much.
You're killing me.
Greetings and salutations, my beautiful people, and welcome back to
Caddy's Retrospectives!
Which is the show on my channel where I honestly just fucking give up. And why do I give up? Well, basically, when I started this adorable little Max Payne retrospective a few weeks ago, I had no idea. When I came into researching stuff for Max Payne 3, I had no idea how hated that game was. No idea at all. And it surprised me. Honest to God, honestly, it really did surprise me. Now, hearing Shane's godly voice in the latest Did You Know Gaming announcement, that was pretty surprising, but no. Ugh. But anyway, why is this particular game so hated? Well, I'll answer that question for you later. So, to get to that answer, we must kick straight off and stop stalling around into the battery acid and corpse-ridden world of Max Payne 3. Fucking peachy, isn't it? So, as we established in the last part of this retrospective, Max Payne 2 is one of my favourite third-person action games of all time. But despite this, I also said that Remedy met with some financial trouble. Despite all of the praise left, right, front and centre all over the place for Max Payne 2, including several industry awards, the game sold horrifically poorly compared to the last game, which then led to Take-Two Interactive using those poor sales as a cause for the company's reforecasted sales in 2004. Along with that tragic news pushed upon the masses, and with the fact that Remedy no longer actually owned the Max Payne franchise, nobody would have even slightly expected a sequel, especially a sequel released 9 years later in 2012. But Rockstar Games, a subsidiary of Take-Two Interactive, who I don't think many people have heard of, decided to give this franchise a go. Oh, and of course, in 2008 there was a movie made about Max Payne 1, but we do not talk about that shit. And you know what? After replaying these 3 games for this retrospective, I actually came to the unanimous decision, whatever the fuck that word means, that Max Payne is probably my favourite game character of all time. Probably. Yes, I know, I put him at number 3 on my top 10 badasses list, but I decided when I did the video series, so... As a general character though, I fucking love this guy. He's in my top 3 at least. I mean, he might be number 1, I don't know, but... I know, that's sorry, that was really out of place. I'm sorry, that was completely irrelevant. Let's carry on, shall we? Yes. Oh, wait, the story. This game was promised to be bigger, better, and incredibly different from the last 2, which left some skepticism and doubts floating all over the fucking place, especially for the amount of time that people were waiting for it. And even before the game was released, it went through many pushbacks and redesigns, with former Remedy employees playtesting and overseeing the production. And due to the culture and newest heavy themes that were going to be present in Max Payne 3, Rockstar's research team visited Sao Paulo many times to truly encapsulate the weaponry, people, police state, business and social structure, and overall vibe to get it perfect for the game. Because of all of this time that was passing and everything Rockstar were doing to make sure the game was as good as it could possibly be, Max Payne 3 was then scheduled for release in late 2009, before then being announced on March 2012, and then again being finally passed through on May 2012. And as far as expectations went, no one had any fucking clue what to think, or had any idea what could possibly become of our beloved Maxi baby when he decided to jump onto the next generation. And of course, this was the game that got me playing through Max Payne 1 and 2. So I suppose at least I should be thankful for that. And after I did play through Max Payne 1 and 2, after I got to the epic ending of Max Payne 2, I could not wait to continue the saga, let me tell you for free. Not to mention, I had no idea what to expect, because in terms of critical reception, averagely, this game fared the highest, averagely, critically, out of any of the other ones.
I had no idea what was gonna happen.
But along with that came a lot of shite. And I mean a lot. I mean seriously, when I did some research for this game, I thought fucking Munch's Odyssey up there. I thought Munch's Odyssey was pretty 50-50 split with the fan base, but Max Payne 3? More like fucking 2080. Yeah. And when I initially started this little series of videos, basically a lot of people in the comments, not everybody, but a lot of people in the comments wanted me to do this game absolutely no justice whatsoever. They wanted me to talk shit about it and nothing but shit about it. But you know what? That's not gonna happen in this video! Because personally, where I do see the flaws in this game and where I do understand that some people don't like it for their reasons, I love this game like a son! It's completely fucking different from all the other ones, I get that. In nearly every single way imaginable, I get that. And Sam Lake didn't write any of the story for it, I get that. And the graphic novel cutscenes, they're all gone, and everything's turned to shit, I get that. But
I'll explain my reasonings for liking this game much later on if you just give me a chance, so thank you very much.
because there are more important matters at stake here, like, what's the story in Balomori? Wouldn't you like to know? Well, for most people, this is where they kind of lost hope. The story this time takes place in, well, our time at that point, 9 years after the last game, and it involves an even more battered and emotionally scarred Max, and seriously, this is unlike anybody has ever seen him so far. If there was ever a game to truly present a completely destroyed and utterly ruined man, this game is it. And where that ending to Max Payne 2 with Mona Sachs as the perfect femme fatale left me teary, the motherfucking introduction to this game before the menu even pops up holds tons of emotional weight, especially if you experienced and loved the previous games. Just that one moment of a painkiller-ridden and drunken Max picking up his family picture and sobbing on the floor fucking sells this alone, if you ask me. It's a fantastic prologue, that's for sure, and every time within the story you return to Max's apartment, it's just as emotionally crippling as the last.
Fun fact, did you know that Mona Sachs' sister from the first game was called Lisa, and oh, wait! Holy shit, I just realized what they did there.
This also means that, in my opinion, all of Max's narrations, even though Sam Lake had no involvement with any of them, were absolutely incredible. Expertly written like a grade A novel, beautifully spoken again by James McCaffrey, and the cynicism of Max's character was fully realized here, allowing him to be even more reflective and self-aware with what he was saying, and allowing him to bounce off of the world that took everything away from him with more hatred and spite than ever before. Which, believe it or not, actually led to a few parts of the game where Max actually gained a dark and twisted sense of humor after the shit he's been through. And because I was personally fully attached to him by this point, I felt like I could even chuckle along with his brilliant views and opinions, and equally as well as that, feel huge sympathy for the tragedy and fall guy trait that he had unwillingly acquired. People said he was being a bit whingy and very pathetic in this game, but you know what? Honestly, guys, I mean, for fuck's sake, if you had been through all the shit he went through in the first and second games, and if you had become this addicted to painkillers, and if you started addictively and heavily binge drinking into alcoholism, and after all that stuff, you tell me you wouldn't be acting like Max right now. I mean, fucking give the guy a break. What were the bloody people expecting? Oh god, yeah, I thought this would happen. I'm rambling, I'm so sorry. Where were we? Yes, the story, sorry. So anyway, 9 years have passed and Max is a fucking wreck, like we've discussed. And out of a series of even more non-linear and great events, we find out that Max was retired from the NYPD and nursing his problems nearly every minute he could at a bar in New Jersey. While he was there one night, he meets an old police academy classmate of his called Raul Passos, who mentions that he's scouting out for anyone willing to be his partner for a bodyguard job in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Max initially declines, but then during a violent and drunken argument, he ends up shooting the son of a massively prolific mob boss, who, unsurprisingly, puts a price on Max's head and orders the entirety of New Jersey's criminal underworld to kill him. Good old Max, nothing has changed at all, has it? After evading and killing a great number of them with the help of Passos, he then reminds Max again about the job in Sao Paulo, which, along with giving Max a nice paycheck for his retirement, also gives him an excuse to make a new start in his life and, obviously, escape the mobs in New Jersey. With his and Passos' job to protect the extremely wealthy Bronco family in Brazil, after a few successful runs, the job then turns to absolute shit as each family member ends up getting brutally killed or kidnapped by different street gangs and paramilitary units, leading to yet even more betrayals, conspiracies, and all sorts of interesting and exciting shit. Even including a dive into the illegal organ harvesting trade, people dying all over the place in horrifically brutal ways, and all sorts of other shit which I will not spoil for any of you right now. Suffice to say though, I did spend about 14 hours on this campaign though, so you know what, it's even really lengthy to boot. Yeah. I can hear all of you asking now. Is that it? After the very deep and very complex writings and stories and brilliant setups from the last two games, we get this? Well, like I said earlier, and you know what? After replaying these three games for this retrospective, no, not that. Fucking peachy, isn't it? No, wrong thing again. I love this game like a son. Ah, there's the bugger. Yes, I still do love this game. As much as the last two? Well, not really, but still, I love it. I understand that the plot this time round was incredibly stripped back and generic compared to the last two games, and it removed some of the, film noir elements, especially considering the setting that this game is in, But you know what? As far as generic and stripped back action games go, I thought this was pretty decently written. I liked the setting, I liked the characters, I liked the plot twists, I liked all of this stuff, and I honestly feel completely alone with it. Does it feel like Max Payne 1 and 2? Not at all. It's completely fucking different, but I still do like it very much. And let's remember that the cornerstone holding this whole centerpiece together was the guy that the game was named after. Max Payne.
Yes, where I completely understand the dislike for the change in the setting, the dislike for the lack of a plot as deep and as clever as the last two, the major dislike for the visual filters throughout all the game, the dislike for removing all of the graphic novel cutscenes, and all of that stuff that pretty much everyone shunned this game for, this is my theory. This franchise is called Max Payne. As far as I'm concerned, every game, every environment, every story arc, it's all about Max's personal journey. And whether he's set in the dirty back alleys of New York solving a complex drug conspiracy, or even if he's set out in the slums of Brazil against every force in the country imaginable, it was Max Payne that was doing those things. And like I said, even if it wasn't as complex or really smart or emotionally driven or film noir-esque or near as good as the last two, it was still something decently written, albeit slightly predictable in parts. But despite that, it was very different for Max. It was a rebirth, a new start, a new life, which is what Rockstar's intention was from the start. In terms of Max's character, a trip to Sao Paulo was the most logical thing to do, and honestly, I'm not sure that 3 games in a row with the exact same themes going on would have made it much better for Max at this point. It would have just been a lose-lose situation. This is what happens in long development time. I mean, after a 9-year wait, do you take these risks and upset the fans, or do you stay where your roots are and then get called unoriginal and not worth the wait? It's an interesting discussion to have with somebody, so you know what? If you want to talk about this, go ahead. I'm just fucking rambling. But anyway, this is a video that I have made, so in my opinion, for a 9-year gap, I loved this setting change, personally. I mean, alone, some of these action set pieces are just fucking awesome. I mean, people complained about the setting and how unnatural it felt, but you know what? Max felt that as well. People also complained about the editing effects and the filters and all that bullshit, but you know what? You're inside Max's head right now. You're supposed to feel disjointed. You're supposed to feel alone and confused, because that's exactly how Max himself felt at this chapter in his life. And the way that Rockstar took that fact and expressed it in this game was really well done, if you ask me. It's like some sort of weird mental feedback, and I think, personally, it really works. Have no delusions, my friends. Just because everything was really different about this game from the last two doesn't mean that it wasn't a game about Max Payne, because it really was. And for me, that was the most important bit. Not to mention, Rockstar had also kept everything that made Max a great character to begin with, but naturally made everything in his life even worse, which, as the game progressed, slowly turned him into the ultimate fucking badass, and his tolerance for stupid shit dropped to its lowest that it ever was. This guy cannot get a fucking break. And honestly, if you ask me, one of the weirdest and strangely heartfelt turning points of any game character in history came about in Max Payne 3. And I think you know the bit I'm talking about, with absolutely everything he knew and loved vanishing in front of him, with the job that he was assigned to fucking up quicker than he could even write his own name, and with decades worth of anguish, heartbreak, and strain raining on his physical and mental state, Max decides to sober up, change everything around, and stop living his life in some cloudy and painful past. And the first step to this huge leap in self-realization and reboot to his life is by going all out and shaving his fucking hair off. Not only is this, in my opinion, kind of hard to watch, but it also acts as another motivator for Max, since he has nothing else in his life worth actually fighting for.
I mean, please tell me, have you ever just stepped back and thought to yourself, wow, wouldn't it be great to just remove a part of my body, metaphorically lifting all of my inner stresses, and motivating me to cause a difference in the world, and actually telling myself that I mean business? Wow. I mean, think about it, wouldn't that be just marvellous? I mean, oh god. I wish I could just stick to my guns like that and commit to something like that, you know? Must take a lot of bravery, you know? I mean, I wish I could do that. I really wish I could. What? What? What are you looking at? What are you, I can't understand. What are you saying? Is there something on my face? No? I can't understand. Speak up. Are you looking at, is there something on, have I got something on me? Okay, man, you have to speak up because I can't hear you and you're really messing about with my head. Ah! What? What? I'm an egg! I'm a fucking egg! Right, I'm okay now. Let's talk about the presentation.
So yes, unsurprisingly, this game looks and sounds fantastic, and the lovely and interesting change in the setting makes the whole experience more vibrant, more detailed, cleaner yet simultaneously dirtier, and occasionally more threatening. I mean, it's quite memorable in some bits. And that can even be said in the flashback segments. Now, I do know that despite the flashbacks, it is still completely fucking different from the last two, but for a next generation sequel, I think that the step up was actually a really nice idea. I know that the graphic novel cutscenes were gone, and the visual filter effects I weirdly do like, but still, it does look fantastic. It has a lovely style to it. And for the feel that this game was going for, nothing felt too out of place. Not to mention, having all of these new settings almost made it feel like it was Max's retirement holiday gone to complete shit. But yeah, the dark, foreboding, scary New York alleyways and gang hideouts, apart from a few chapters, they were gone. Instead, we got a
Bright, sunny, and banging Brazilian play.
And you know something? Max being this out of place in a country he didn't know the language to, being attacked by all sorts of people he couldn't understand, and all that stuff, it created a new kind of scariness, an unknown kind of fear, a different culture, a different way of life. So debatably, the grittiness and edginess of the last two games was still here, but just presented completely differently. Nowhere near as subtle or film noir overshadowed and shady cool-like, but despite that, it felt more like a big journey, both into extremely varied, exotic, yet sinister and unknown territories, and also into finding some solace for Max himself. And hell, even for a game made 2 years ago, it's fucking beautiful. It's sharp as hell, the animations are fantastic. That's sunset in Chapter 9, I think. The harsh lights and soft shadows, and the detail that these games were known for were amplified to shit, especially with the character models and all of the other stuff. Every dusty path, every explosion, every shack, every blood splatter, and hell, even every flashback story mission in New Jersey, they all looked incredible. Probably even better than most games today. Even the little Rockstar touches were great, such as the fact that whatever guns Max was holding at that point would be carried exactly the way they were into every single cutscene. Things like that I completely love. And hey, because of the change in setting, plus the flashback bits, there could be even more variations with the environments in every chapter. More colors, more environmental hazards, more day and night sections, and even in the reminiscent flashback segments, more dirt, dingier lights, thicker fogs. Every chapter, more or less, saw you traversing through a completely different environment with its own charm and personality, and I liked how they did that. Not to mention, more slabs of detail could be even added into the slow-mo bullet time bits with the bullet effects and even the sheer bloodshed of it all. I mean, you can see every single bullet hole you leave in those bodies. Tasty! And as for the sounds, the voice acting on every character is superb, especially Max, obviously. And it feels extremely polished all around. And even the soundtrack is still in top form, sounding even more dark and foreboding than the last game, especially with the main theme. Even the action sequence scores are great, even though there's no Poets of the Fall. There needs to be more Poets of the Fall. I like Poets of the Fall.
But hey, everything may have been extremely different visual and storytelling wise, but one thing did remain, and in my opinion, it was the best that it had ever been, the most refined it had ever been. The gameplay.
Yes, even though the exploration element was a little bit more watered down and the experience was a little bit more linear as a whole, for me that was more than made up for with the improvements over the last game with the gameplay. I didn't honestly think there could be much improvement over Max Payne 2, but oh boy, I was wrong. It was so tight. Well, firstly, to compensate for the slightly more linear approach, players could find optional clues to deepen the plot and give you cool little Easter eggs, which were even more detailed than the last two games, as well as find the hidden parts of golden guns everywhere to increase the damage and ammo capacity whenever you found a complete set to a particular gun. And when you find all of these, replaying the game in arcade mode with the classic Max Payne skins and with the golden guns makes everything hilariously incredible. But in terms of the gameplay itself, you run, shoot, dodge, bullet time, use painkillers, and all of that good shit we've come to expect. However, like in the other games, there were a few things changed and stepped up.
Fun fact. Did you know that when the game was close to release, Rockstar did a Twitter competition stating that the best fan messages with the hashtag MaxPayne3 would be in with a chance to have their likenesses thrown in as a multiplayer character for the online mode? Awesome! Also, Vinny Gogniti from the first and second games has his tombstone near Max's wife and daughter. Yeah.
Firstly, there were hundreds of more enemies constantly trying to attack you from every fucking angle you can imagine. Literally all the fucking time. And not only did this add more difficulty, but also the much less amount of painkillers going about meant it was kind of balls crazy. And the best way to avoid this new scale of threat was with the very welcome brand new cover mechanic. It may not sound like much, but holy shit, it's useful for this game. But even with this new cover mechanic, the game is still fucking hard. Harder than both the first games combined. Okay, you have the ability to cover, but you will need to keep moving around and jump between them, because if you don't, you will get bitten behind you and you will
Die!
And if you don't sharpen your reflexes and sort your shit out, this game will kick your ass. And not only will it kick your ass, but it'll also go full frontal on your bollocks too.
Yeah, this game was the hardest out of the three. Bullet wounds were more realistic, meaning that one headshot to you equals you
Die.
And you will see this death screen a lot, so it's lucky that the game does all of its loading and installing before you even play the game, meaning a continuously flowing, uninterrupted story mode with very quick checkpoint recovery and even cutscenes that seamlessly blend into the gameplay. It's so cool. It feels fresh, fast, and interactively cinematic, and it works a great deal, especially when due to the lack of the graphic novel cutscenes. But hey, due to this new cover mechanic, this also meant the bullet time had to be changed. It went back to Max Payne 1 style, where shoot dodging and manual bullet time both contributed to the loss of your adrenaline level. And as far as the bullet time goes, this game added in some new awesome things. Not only with the fucking awesome ability to hit a button to slow down the slow-mo panning shot of whoever you killed last in the room, but also with things like the last man standing mechanic, where if you had one or more painkillers on you and then got shot to death, the game automatically slowed down and gave you a few more seconds to shoot the guy who tried to kill you. And if you were quick enough, you'd use the painkiller automatically and lie on the floor ready to get up and carry on. But if this does happen to you, please just make sure you have ammo on you though, because otherwise you will
Die.
again. But again, adaptive difficulty mechanics were added in if you wanted to
Die.
a lot, meaning an aiming assist could be turned on or off, and even a new mechanic allowing you to click onto the next immediate enemy straight after killing someone by hitting the over-the-shoulder target button again. And the quick turn mechanic, really small things but insanely welcome. And the physics engine was, at the time, the most realistic Rockstar had ever implemented, meaning that killing people and diving in the physical environment looked the most realistic and felt the most realistic for Max to interact with, especially when jumping into a wall or gunning down a group of people. Talking about shoot dodging, what I loved was how it made you feel the age of Max. It took a second or two for him to actually jump, and it even allowed you to stay on the ground on your back and shoot anyone around you before standing up. This made Max feel more weighty, it made perfect sense for his physical state, and it also added more strategy to just simply shooting people. Again, the detail is fantastic here, and not only was that more detailed and realistic, but also was the way that you carried your guns. Personally, I fucking love games that only allow you to carry a certain amount of guns relative to, well, real life. Max could either carry two small guns, one in one hand and one in his pocket, and a bigger gun by his side to switch between, or he could dual wield two of the small guns he had, meaning dropping the bigger gun. I know that this sounds like a great big cop-out. Get it? Because Max is a cop! But in my opinion, it isn't. I love it when games do this. Love, love, love. There's no overabundance of choice and confusion. You get chances to use every single gun. It forces you into realistic situations. It increases the tension and doesn't make you feel overpowered. It makes you feel more human, and I think it's more fun. And even the guns themselves felt more human. They had a real weight to them. They felt heavy and deadly with the way that they shoot, the recoil, the impact, the sound, the vibrations of the controller. Oh god, I love it. Also, when you kill the last person in the room, the bullet time camera would start up. And holy shit, I've always wanted to play a game where you can speed and slow down the footage to your heart's content and keep plugging holes into your enemies with staggering detail in slow motion until they fall to the ground. Oh my god, it's so cool. And I don't feel like I need to explain much about what you're seeing. And because there were barely any chances to use proper melee attacks like in the last two games, they added in an execution move, basically meaning when you had some sort of small gun on you, you could bust your way into people and then smack them to the ground and then pull the trigger to their head. It's very fucking cool. And it also allowed you to steal the guns off of other people. But I mean, even things like the level designs were pretty cool. With this new cover mechanic and realistic body interactions, the levels were pretty fun to navigate through, especially when you consider that they took away the platforming mechanic pretty much completely. And there were loads of corners to look through and... So yeah, I know I've rambled a lot in this video, and I'm really sorry, but I hope I can get people to understand why I do like this game a lot, because I do love you all. And as far as the ending goes, after even more conspiracies, betrayals, and yada 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 yada,
Such as?
with possibly the most badass comeback in history,
We have what we need on him now. Let him enjoy a trial and a spell in prison. Let him suffer. Trust me.
You know I walk. You'll walk with a limp.
everything in Max's world at that point ends calmly. His inner demons are vanquished, he's left the past where it belongs, he accepts himself, his life, what he's done, the differences he's made, and it's actually a very self-reflective and relieving ending. It's a very ride off into the sunset kind of ending, and for poor old
Max?
it's perfectly fitting, and just to see the poor guy smile to himself is worth everything fucking alone. If you ask me, it's a perfect little round off to his big bloody journey, and one that I pray that you experience for yourselves sometime. All three of them, in order.
But does Max Payne 3 hold up today? Well, it was only released 2 years ago, so yeah, it does. I mean, the hate that this game has received makes me wonder if anyone would actually agree with me at all. But still, coming from somebody who loves the first two Max Payne games and also loves this one, I hope that, as that's coming from someone like me and the few people like me with agreeing with liking this game and the other two in a weird equal fashion, I hope that I can try and guide some skeptics into at least giving this game a try, because I think it's a fucking awesome game. I mean, you may like it, or you may not like it, especially if you're very attached to the earlier two games, but for me, I thought this is fucking epic, and they're all fucking epic games.
Even with the inclusion of Max Payne 3's awesome, really fun online mode, that being said, all of these games are badass, and that's just it. I can't really say much else about them, you're gonna have to get them yourselves, guys. But what was to come out of these games then? Well, honestly, not that much. There was the very stylish yet very shitty 2008 movie that I mentioned earlier, and a few comics after it, but hell, that's it really. Personally, I'd kill for a fucking sequel, because Max Payne is easily one of my favorite franchises ever made.
And if I had to pick my favourite one, I probably would have to go with 2. Although, believe it or not, even though the storytelling and the complexity and everything of Max Payne 2 makes me like it that much more, and the step up from the first game, the gameplay and the visual style and everything that the third one has to offer makes it a very close call for me, I've got to be honest, and the length of the game as well, and seeing Max at his lowest point of his life, it's great fun to traverse through, it really is. It's a very difficult one for me, but it's completely different reasons. I love both of these games for completely different reasons, but I'd say that the best one in terms of Max Payne is Max Payne 2.
Yes, for completely different reasons, I am stuck between Max Payne 2 and 3. Yeah, imagine that. Overall, I'd say that the one that stuck out most stylistically, gameplay-wise, and Max's character-wise was indeed 3, but story-wise, improvement-wise, theme-wise, and of course, emotionally, left me siding with 2. And overall, for the sake of Mr. Payne, I'd say that 2 gives him the most rounded off, realer, grittier, and truer to roots story. And hell, if a 4-hour game can get me crying, then they really did something right. But yeah, I get that many people may not like 3, especially after what 1 and 2 did, but consider the existence of this video to let people know that there are a few of us out there existing that love every single game for completely different reasons. And hell, even Remedy loved Max Payne 3. They test played it and even supervised it, which I am so happy that they did. Hell, even Sam Lake luckily liked it. And honestly, I personally wish to Christ that another Max Payne game would be made, especially with the turn of the PS4 and Xbox One era, because I'm desperate to see what else could possibly happen. Even though Max mentally redeems himself for 3's ending, I reckon a prequel of sorts, or an old enemy returning even older than he is, or maybe like an open world Max Payne in a similar vein to like the first 2 games, or maybe an open world Max Payne while he's abroad again, I don't know. Or Max sitting in a fucking dressing gown by a fireplace with his feet up, fuck me, I'd buy that! But yeah, guys, get the trilogy any way you can. Currently, you've been watching all of these games on the PC versions, which are available on Steam, by the way. And if you decide to get them, then have a blast with one of the coolest and most tragic motherfuckers in all gaming history. Max Payne, I love you. I love all 3 of your lovely adventures, and I hope to see some more of you in the near future. Hello everybody, and thanks so much for sticking through every single minute of this video. It's probably my longest one to date, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed this 3-part Max Payne retrospective. If you'd like to keep up to date with all of the videos I'm working on and such as, you can look into the description to find my Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and everything is in there, so that's pretty cool. And also, I'm gonna link you 3 other videos here. And they're all actually gonna be completely different from this style of video, the retrospective things. They're gonna be completely different shows that I actually do every single week whenever I can. And also, I've got to give a great shout out and a massive thank you to all of my top Patreon supporters. If you look in the description, you'll find my Patreon page where you can get all sorts of rewards from myself. It's a great service, and you guys that I'm going to shout out, you have been incredible with your support. So I need to give a massive thank you to Daniel Carlson, Ed Herngreen, Philip Larson, David Coffey, Ivan Strand, James Newman, Greg Black, Michael McKitterick, Nick Marchenko, Zachary Lehman, Benjamin Peasley, Jason Norris, a YouTuber by the name of the Retro Gamer HD, so go check it out, Delmar Mullins, Kylie McKinnon, Matthew Elliott, Yayan Tuffrey Jones, Mohammed Al-Sali, Tony Pierce, Albert Rodriguez, Emily Higginbotham, Obaid Al-Shamsi, another YouTuber by the name of The Darkest Side of Me 101, so please go and have a look at his stuff, Alan Angert, and Harry Gaynor. Thanks so much for anything. Sorry for any mispronunciations, but thank you so much, guys. You mean the world to me. You've done incredible on Patreon, and I love you all very much. And of course, if it's your birthday today or watching this video, then happy freaking birthday to you, and please remember to stay beautiful.